Okay, new theory. How about we watch anime so quietly that nobody can hear our shame? Welcome back to the Anime Podcast.
Nobody is hearing our shame right now. I think we got like 9 or 10 views on the last episode.
Well, that's more than 2 views, which it has automatically, just because we're technically viewing it right now.
Or 2 brothers watching anime
in a world. Yeah, so welcome back to the Anime Podcast. This week we're covering Neverland 4, Mob 5, and Kaguya 4, as well as Baccano 5 and 6.
That's right. 5 whole episodes of anime. 5 whole episodes, even, of anime that we had to watch for this podcast.
It was a slave-inducing chore.
That's not how you use the word inducing. And we're sorry we're a day late, or maybe we won't be because this will go up right away. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that. But yes. We were struggling, man. We were struggling to, take care of our other duties, our other obligations, non-anime related. But we're ready now. So which of the fine seasonal anime that we're watching should we talk about first, Grenchler?
Yakusoku no Neverlando.
All right, yes. Flawless pronunciation. So this is episode 4, and the cat is out of the bag. The cats are just escaping. They're fleeing from the bag.
They're clawing their way out.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out Schrodinger's cat was alive because it's out of the box.
Right. So what are we referring to when we say that? What about this episode made it so special or revelatory or what have you?
Norman's the traitor.
You mean Ray?
Ray, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know that for sure, but that was the big cliffhanger,
right?
Let me scroll down here in my little Word doc full of notes.
So, about halfway through the episode, I saw that coming.
Oh, really? What tipped you off that happened halfway through the episode?
They were just like, "Hey, so this is what someone might want to do if they were to be the tattletale." And Norman had said that like the only thing he wants to do in life is to be an adult. So
it was Ray.
Ray.
Who said that, right?
I'm saying the wrong thing. I've got the spiky black haired dude name in my
That's Ray.
face. Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking about when he said what would be in it for that, when Norman asked him what would be in it for a spy or a mole potentially, and Ray said, "Oh, well, they would just, they would be safe. They wouldn't get shipped out, and they would just be able to live their life without fear of being brutally murdered and then eaten by demons."
Yeah.
So you think that someone stating that fact, so rationally, is grounds to suspect them of being a traitor?
Yes.
Okay, I really didn't think so. I mean, I wasn't particularly surprised at the end. It hadn't occurred to me that he might be the traitor, but it did, like in retrospect, it kind of makes sense because we know he's the survivalist, he's the rationalist, he has been since the very beginning of the show. He also was not surprised in the least when the kids told him, "Hey, we saw some demons. We saw some aliens. We saw some guys with their eyes oriented above each other as opposed to next to each other with gray skin, and Connie died." He just took that very well when they first told him in I think the second episode.
Yeah.
And I think there was one other little bit of evidence that I wrote down.
Evidence.zip.
Did you know he dropped out of Melee?
Really?
At Genesis to focus on Ultimate?
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
We're talking about Leffen. What was it?
The God Slayer.
What was it? Oh yeah. We didn't see the note that we didn't see who passed the note to Mama. We thought it was Don or Donnie. What's his name? Don.
Right.
Because Norman hatches that scheme. He tells one person the rope's going to be hidden here. He tells another person it's going to be hidden there. It's like a trick as old as time. But we don't see the person who slips Mama the note about it being under Norman's bed. So
yeah, we're supposed to assume that it was...
We're supposed to assume that it was Don, but now, in light of Norman's accusation, we're supposed to assume that it's Ray. But it's that accusation that rubs me the wrong way. Like, it could have been so much more dramatic than it was.
We were supposed to assume that it was Gilda.
No.
Because she goes out, you see her creep out of the door, then you see the note slide under, and then you see them following her down the hall.
Yeah, but the note said it's under Norman's bed, which is what he said to Ray he would tell Dawn. Remember, he said, I'm going to tell Dawn one thing and Gilda the other. He was going to tell Dawn that it was under his bed. He was going to tell Gilda that it was up in the roof.
No, he didn't say to whom he was going to say what.
Yes, he did.
I don't remember that.
That's why we were, as soon as we see Gilda's conversation with Sister Crone, we realize she's in the clear because she couldn't have been the one who put the note under. She wasn't told the correct thing for that to be the case. She was told that it was, do you remember at the very end of the episode when Ray and Norman look up in the ceiling?
Right.
And they see the bag is still there?
Right. And then the other one's gone and like, okay.
Right. So it's Dawn. That's what they're thinking at this point.
Right, after they know that the other one's gone.
Right. So at that very moment when the note gets slipped under Isabel's door and she reads it and sees that it says that it's under Norman's bed, right then, as the audience, we're supposed to think it was Dawn.
I didn't catch that, so that's not what I thought when I read that.
Okay. Well, that's what we were supposed to believe.
Okay.
But
well, I think it was better if you weren't supposed to believe that.
What do you mean? That was the entire purpose of the scene, dude, was so that Dawn would think one thing and Gilda would think the other. That was the whole point.
I know that was the whole point. So then what was the purpose of being like, oh, it's Dawn. Hey, let's follow Gilda now.
I don't know, maybe to trick people who weren't paying attention.
It just, that whole scene falls apart without that tension.
I guess, although Crone is pretty creepy.
Yeah, but it's like a Disney villain creepy.
Yeah, like
it's
a slightly racist 1930s Disney character.
Pretty much.
Also, every scene that's inside the house, or most of them, so they happen at night, are just orange. Like the screen is constantly bathed in orange. All the scenes with her interrogating Gilda, the scene with her and Isabel, where they're, like kind of maneuvering around each other.
I mean, that's what firelight makes a room look like.
Yeah, but so much of the show then is like either orange or, when it's totally dark, blue. And then we just get we get a few outside scenes.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Yeah, orange and blue.
Yeah, everything's orange and blue, and there's got to be like smoke and dust on your movie poster.
Well, those are the visual elements that activate the almonds of the general movie-going public. So you got to make that dosh.
Activate the almonds?
Yeah, you got to make that dosh, dude. You got to trick as many people as you can into watching your shitty movie by putting those colors and those elements on your poster. And I mean, Neverland's doing the same thing. It's just blue and orange.
And a tagline such as, "The children will escape, or will they?"
Or in a world.
In a world. ...
So yeah, do you think that Ray is the traitor? We're kind of getting away from our topic here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like,
so if he's the traitor and we still have 8 episodes left to go out of this, I think, 12 episode order, where do we go from here?
Well, we already know he's going with them anyways.
Oh, right. Because
Norman asks Emma, she's like, what would you do with the traitor?
Right.
And be like, bring him with us.
And of course
anyways.
She says, I love everyone, so I would bring them with us.
Actually, she's a little more sadistic than that because she's like, we should bring them with them and remove their guarantee of life.
Did she? What?
Yeah. She's like, if they come with us, there's no guarantee they'll make it to be an adult.
I think that you're watching like the Crunchyroll, the horrible subs.
I'm watching whatever is on horrible subs. Yeah.
Okay. I'm watching GJM subs, and that was not present. That line was not present anywhere. I did notice this week that they they uploaded it on the website,
right?
The usual website, and they left a comment underneath that said "Fire Aniplex into the sun." Who are the people who are providing the subtitles? So apparently there were a lot of inaccuracies this week or something. Like they changed every line.
Maybe that's why I didn't get the fact that they had told who was who.
Maybe
because
that
my
would take
subs literally might not have had it.
That's possible. Although I'm not going to go back and look because we got it figured out now. Anyways, so you think that Ray is a traitor? Like I guess I mean, all the evidence is pointing in that direction. I'm not really so sure though, you know. And part of the reason that I'm not like jumping to assume that that's the case is because, and this is something I alluded to earlier, I really did not like the final scene between Norman and Ray at all. I thought that confrontation was totally weak and lacking in dramatic tension. Like he just kind of leans in a little bit and a shadow gets cast over his face, but there's no interesting angle to the shot. I don't remember any sort of music that would heighten the impact of that moment. In fact, I feel as though the episode ended in silence before cutting to the ED, which is fine, but like given how uninteresting it looked, it could have used some other sort of punch to it. So that's just a feeling, like a thought that I had while watching that.
Yeah, I don't really remember there being music there. I remembered a couple of the other parts.
Did you?
Or maybe this was Baccano doing it with like just weird piano that's just like...
Baccano is full of weird piano.
Like a 4-year-old just slamming their hands on a keyboard.
Yeah. There was actually one musical choice in this episode of Neverland that I thought was terrible. But before, do you remember an episode?
Besides the opening?
I don't know. I think the opening's okay. Like when you judge anime OPs, you know, they're all J-rock and J-pop for the most part. So you have to kind of grade on a curve. And I think it's okay. It's got the little na 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 na.
Yeah, like the first 20 or 30 seconds is all right, then it just like falls off a cliff.
So you like the jazzier part in the beginning?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
That shows some creativity.
Right. Well, you know, this is a Shonen Jump property, so I'm not expecting it to be like an OP on par with like Rakugo from a couple years ago, like some really dramatic and haunting piece of classical, like neoclassical music.
Or something like Parasite the Maxim, which just really wouldn't fit the tone of the show.
What? This?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be that surprised if this show had a dubstep opening.
No, Parasite the Maxim wasn't dubstep. It's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, it's the right Screamo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been that surprised if this had that either. But anyway, do you remember in episode 2, the scene where Norman and Ray are talking to each other while Emma has like mysteriously vanished and gone off to touch the wall?
Right.
And there's like that big screeching rock song that's playing while they're just like casually talking.
I remember we talked about that.
Something similar happened in this episode.
Really?
Yes. It was actually the conversation again between Norman and Ray. Immediately after they let Don and Gilda in on what was going on.
Right, when they were outside in the hall.
Yeah, there's like that really swelling, emotional orchestral music, which is somewhat appropriate for the fact that like they're two dear friends who they've lived with for many years, are you know being brought into the plan and they're struggling to accept it. But then the song just continues. Like whoever is editing the audio is just letting these tracks run.
Right.
You know, they're not chopping them up or anything. So it just kept going while Norman and Ray were like, "Oh yeah, so I'm gonna tell one of them that the rope is in the roof, and I'm gonna tell one of them that it's under my bed, and we're gonna see who the traitor is." And
I bet
there's like this really dramatic music going on behind this conversation. When I watch the show, I just feel like there's a lack of care being put into its different elements, so that when the whole thing comes together, like I don't like the backgrounds, the music is
everything's orange and blue.
Right. I don't know. I'm not really that into it, but you know, it ends every episode with a cliffhanger and stuff, and there's the potential for children to get eaten by alien demons.
So that's always nice.
Yeah, I'll keep watching just for that, man. I don't think I have anything else to say about it.
I don't think either, honestly, because all I really wrote down was just, here's what happened. Because other than that, nothing stuck out other than New Maid is still creepy and pretty stupid.
Yeah, and insane.
And it's like, all right, so this is why we're playing tag in groups.
We already knew about that from...
Cool.
We knew about that from last week. They were making a plan to...
Yeah, but now like Gilda and Don are just like, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we should mention Phil, the little kid with the blue eyes, the
kid who's like the last to be caught, and he's like the highest score for his age.
Right, yeah. I think the show put up a flag for him, like he's going to be the next one to get shipped out. And there's some question about when that will be. Like Norman wants to bump up the date of their escape to 10 days from quote unquote now.
That would actually also explain why Ray was so like, wait, what? It's just like, that's not what we were planning on.
Good point. Yeah, I didn't, when I was kind of thinking back on the show, I didn't realize that was kind of an indicator that he might be the traitor. Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see how he responds to Norman's accusation next week.
It's completely preposterous.
I think he might cop to it pretty quickly if it is him.
Just be like, yep.
Yeah. I mean, I have to imagine that's the kind of thing the show would do as well. Just like initiate a mind game between the two characters. Their cards are both on the table at this point, and then it lets it play out.
Yeah, that mind game's gonna last like 30 seconds. And then there's gonna be some weird music in the background. Everything's gonna be orange, and then they'll just continue with their plan.
Okay.
And he'll just be like, no, you're right, I'm friends with you guys. Screw these demons. Let's escape.
I don't know. I want to give the show a little more credit than that, since what's going on with the...
What do you mean?
Sometimes when I talk, like, it's not constantly displaying the little circle. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is that fine?
Yes.
All right. Sorry, everybody. Some technical talk over here. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, because you don't even understand.
No, I don't. Speaking of mind games,
Kaguya-sama wants to be confessed to.
Mm-hmm. How'd you like this episode?
This episode had like 6 battles in it or something.
Battles?
Yeah, you know how they always have like the result for like who's the victor?
Oh, yes.
There were like 6 of those this episode.
Yeah, there were more than normal. I actually counted 4 as opposed to the usual 3.
Well, I think some of them that were 2-parters, they had 2 victory screens, but they kept going.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely was a different format, I feel, because in the previous 3 episodes, it was just 3 chapters from the manga adapted straight to the screen with like, small tweaks, I guess. But here they made like the very first one was the one with the cat ears.
Yeah.
The cold open before the credits was kind of a precursor to that, I guess. It just had a little bit of the cat ears in there as a teaser.
Rather than having the
intro
or whatever the guy says right at the start.
Right. Suki means love, so you're on the right track. Yeah, it was different. There were more chapters, more little miniature stories, more outcomes of their battles to be displayed on screen. And the end cards, actually, the end cards really caught my attention this week. You remember, for example, the one after the cat ear segment, which was the first one. When I say end card, maybe that's not the right word, because I'm talking about the little the eye catches, the transitions from one skit to the next or one chapter to the next.
Right.
After the one with the cat ears, like Fujiwara, the pink-haired girl, she puts them on and then she turns around and goes like, rawr. Yeah, and she has like a demon cat appearance.
Right.
So there was that one, and there was the one where she freaks out when she sees the banned word that she was given.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think in episode 3, which is the one last week, they were already in the habit of using those eye catches, but they were more noticeable for me this time. A small detail.
Cool.
Well, I mean, we're supposed to talk about what we noticed and stuff, so. Yeah,
that's a good point. I guess I don't really notice that much because it's just like, oh, this is a little transition. I remember what you're talking about, but I didn't,
I appreciated them a lot more this week for whatever reason. I think it does seem to me like the people who are making the show are having fun with it. They're doing the little eye catches. The one thing that stuck out to me was
the ED was weird.
The ED was the same as the first 2 episodes.
I guess I never watched it before.
It's the one with the plane, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you watched it this time, I guess, because of the
because
ED
I was just like, what are they?
Yeah,
because what they did last time was like, are they doing something different?
Right.
So that's the first time I watched the ED, and I was just like, wow, that's bizarre.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But shows will often reserve like very different imagery for the ED and make the OP.
Like biplanes.
Yeah. Why not?
And angels.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I can't remember what I was talking about before you brought that up. It'll come back to me, or it won't. Whatever.
So which of the 4 arcs was your favorite?
The cell phone one, for sure.
Yeah, the text one.
Yes. How about you? So we got cat ears, banned word game, texting, and the party for the French transfer students.
I definitely like the party the least.
Me too, actually. Yeah, it felt a little bit tacked on to me.
The wound licking razor.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with that segment, but the fact that it was kind of stapled to the end, I don't know. It's not as though I had checked out mentally by the time I got to that point, but something about it didn't really click with me.
I mean, it was related to the 2 before it, though.
Yeah,
because they all kind of linked up.
Yes, exactly. And I think that was probably a first for this show.
Yeah, the first time they had like some sort of continuity between them.
Right. It was all about the transfer students and the party they were going to throw for them.
Maybe the manga had caught some traction by this time, so he's like, all right, let's write something a little more serialized.
Maybe.
That might be it.
So that one was your least favorite. What was your most favorite?
My most favorite?
Mm-hmm. You got 3 left to pick from, man.
I don't know. I think it was the cat ears was my favorite.
Okay. That was pretty funny. His Shirogane's voice actor. I can't remember his given name, but I think his family name is Furukawa. He was definitely the standout of this episode, I think. Yeah. Like when he sees Kaguya wearing the cat ears, he goes, "Kawaii!" And the editing on that was really good because the scene would resume as he was still like internally screaming about how cute she looked.
And like other dialogue would be going on.
Yeah. Which was, it was well timed. I thought that was funny. So we know that the president is kind of like, he's he has a lot of admirable qualities, I think, but he's also kind of like a dork.
Yeah.
We know there's that episode where he tries to give romantic advice despite having no experience himself. So we already know, even though no one else seems to, we know that he's, like a bit of a nerd and,
right.
He's not the...
I mean, he's the head of the student council president.
Right.
The student council.
Well, in Japan, it's probably not exclusive to Japan. When student bodies have elections, don't they typically pick the most popular people?
Well, it was pretty obvious that the school picked these 2.
I don't think that's true. In fact, I think that the narrator says specifically in the first episode that the election was for the president and the other positions were chosen by the staff.
Oh, okay. I don't know then.
Or maybe that's just in the manga, but I'm reasonably sure that's the case. Anyway, we also learned from the narrator that the reason Shirogane holds the position he does is because he's like the top scorer,
Yeah.
But in addition to that, people have this visual, or what's the word I'm looking for?
This conceived notion that he's like really cool and a well-versed person, and he's just not.
Yeah. So we've known that all along. So it's nice to hear his voice actor being given the room to express that. In the cat ear segment, especially because we get to go inside his head and Kaguya's and see how they're feeling about each other, with the added stimulus of cat ears.
Cat ears, 2019 stimulus. You heard it here first, folks.
What? They are a stimulus, wouldn't you say? I mean, everything is when you consider things in those terms.
Sure.
You know what
Sure.
You know what I mean?
let's go with that.
Yeah, I like the cat ears one. The banned word game was fun.
Fujiwara starting to talk like a rapper from South Florida.
That's a specific bit of geography that you threw in there. Do you listen to a lot of South Floridian rap?
No, I just picked an area the rappers come from.
Okay. You might have done better to say Georgia. There's a lot of really influential hip-hop artists coming out of Georgia right now.
What, you don't think Stitches is an influence?
Stitches? What is that?
Never mind.
Okay.
You just Just don't ever look up his music. It's awful.
Okay. Yeah, the cell phone one was my favorite. I really like Hayasaka.
Her maid?
Yeah.
Or whatever the
I think the term
correct
is
term
I think
is.
the term is valet. Someone who attends to you. Like typically when you think valet, you think someone who like, parks your car and stuff, but valet just means attendant. I think it's French for attendant. So she's her valet, and I think her character's pretty interesting because she's the person who is like Kaguya's release valve. She can be a little bit more honest with her than she can with everyone else, and a little more open.
And she seems to be a normal functioning person rather than the other two.
Yeah, but she also has a bit of a sadistic streak to her. Like she likes to tease Kaguya and push her buttons. So
as most friends do.
I'm predicting, and this is a real prediction because I have not read that far in the manga. I'm predicting that she is going to pursue Shirogane, the president, romantically, as a means of spurring Kaguya into action. I think she's going to go after the president so that Kaguya will be like, "Step off, bitch," and but she might end up
getting fired.
No, she might end up developing feelings for him,
or
herself.
something.
Yeah, I think that's one way. That,
she'll try to persuade Fujiwara.
Right. Well, she brings that up. Like,
Yeah.
what if the secretary and the president got together?
Murderous glare.
Yeah, and Kaguya's like,
then she'd be dead to me.
She doesn't say that, but she kind of implies it when she gets the text from Fujiwara and like throws the phone over her shoulder. So I've run out of things to say, I think.
Shirogane wins this round because he has bath power.
Bath power?
They were talking on the phone and he was in the bath.
You're right.
And her like maid whispers up to him and
he's totally naked. Yeah. Oh, so bath power was the reason for his victory in that scene. Okay. Yeah. Well, good for him, man. Another win for our boy. You got any other notes, comments, or thoughts on Kaguya-sama?
No, I just felt like the fourth part was the student council meeting was the weakest because
you mean the party?
Yeah, the party.
Yeah.
I guess every episode is technically a meeting of the student council.
Yeah, so far. Although we did spend the most time outside of that room in this episode, I think, than we ever have before.
I also didn't notice like any of the backgrounds looking terrible.
Oh, that was one complaint that I wasn't going to bring up, but
none of them like jumped out to me as being bad.
The scene in Kaguya's room when they were talking about the text messages and stuff, they literally reused 3D assets from the student council room.
Oh, well, I mean, the
bookshelf is the same, the desk is the same.
I'm not looking at the backgrounds.
Okay, well, in addition to me being the sort of person who tries to like consider every element of a show's production, I'm also blogging this show in particular.
Right, I remember you've mentioned that before.
So I'm looking at it with a very close eye, or I'm trying to. And that was one thing that jumped out for me. It's
A1 Pictures, man. They're gonna cut some corners.
The thing about A1 Pictures is that it's made up mostly of freelancers. You know, like there are people at the top, the big staff members who may be somewhat consistent from production to production, but they do employ a lot of freelancers. In fact, that's the thing that they're known for as a studio because they're an arm of Aniplex. I think I have that correct. And Aniplex is like a gigantic Japanese like media conglomerate.
Right.
You know. So that's you can't necessarily say like, oh, A1 Pictures is, you know, they're just gonna look shitty. Although
isn't that what you always say though?
I mean, I'm probably guilty of that whenever a series of theirs is particularly disappointing to me, like, you know, like Neverland's is. But it's true that, you know, they're so massive that you really can't attribute their failures to being down to the same group of people every time.
That's a good point.
Not like smaller studios, you know, like.
But wouldn't their directors be consistent though?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not that big on A1 in general. Like I know the stable of directors that a studio like Kyoto Animation might have, but As for A1, I'm not really sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that about covers it for Kaguya. And we move on to our favorite demigod, Mob.
Okay.
I remember you had a lot of complaints about last episode, and I was like, oh, it's definitely a two-parter. It's going to be resolved in this episode, and that didn't happen.
What do you mean that didn't happen?
I mean, it's just, there wasn't...
What you said was right, I thought.
I was?
Yes. I thought it was, yeah. He wins. Mob wins. The day is saved.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what you thought was going to happen, wasn't it?
I knew that was going to happen, but it didn't... You said like this giant great evil came out of nowhere and was introduced, and then I was just like, yeah, Mob's gonna save the day. It's a 2-part episode, but you said it didn't feel like he was, like he was properly introduced or that he was a good villain or anything like that.
Yeah,
none of that got wrapped up by this episode.
I don't know. I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like the show did well enough.
We also do know that he's still around as well.
Yes, he's in that capsule. I can't remember the name of the guy from Claw with the scar on his face.
Right.
But we saw him in the first season.
And he was in the last episode as well, because he was at the house being like, I hope they didn't notice me.
Right. And the thing about that guy in particular is that during the second half of season 1, when they were going through Claw's base, and encountering all the different members and having psychic duels with them and stuff.
Right.
His was the character that got shafted the most. Like, we saw the least of him. From what I remember, somebody just kind of overpowers him immediately, despite him seeming very threatening and powerful, having those spirits at his disposal. I can't remember who it was. I feel like it was
with
Dimple.
all the evil spirits.
Yes, I think that was him with the scar on his face. And I feel like maybe it was Dimple.
Dimple just like ate all of his spirits or something.
Maybe, yeah. Or maybe he just immediately possessed him or something.
Dimple got captured by him.
Oh, is that right? But that's right. And in the container, Dimple ended up besting all the spirits inside.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, in that sense, he was kind of shafted as a character. Like we didn't get to feel exactly how capable or how threatening he was. But the fact that he's kind of like lurking in the shadows in this episode signals that maybe he'll have a greater role, or maybe they're just trying to hint at the fact that Claw is coming back up in the story soon.
Because he helps Dimple get through to Mob.
Yes, he does. He like lends him some of his spiritual power. It's weird the way the show uses spiritual power as a plot device. It's like chakra.
It's like midichlorians.
Yeah, it's like Nen in Hunter x Hunter.
Okay, I was just like, Nen? What?
Yeah.
I never got far enough for them to explain it.
Yeah, the Nen becomes like super well developed as an energy source or a battle system, whatever you want to call it.
Like chakra.
Yeah, except it does that Japanese thing with the power pentagon or the power. You know what I'm talking about, with like the different stats, and then there's that little shape inside that'll be stretched to different degrees depending on how strong your character is.
Yeah.
I'm spending a lot of time trying to explain this concept.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Nen becomes something sort of like that. Anyway, that's Hunter x Hunter.
So it's like stat cards for people that like collect that kind of stuff in Japan.
It's not really stat cards, but it's something like on that level of nerdiness. Anyway. Yeah, that dude lends Dimple some of his power so he can break through that barrier. And it was interesting to me. I don't really want to comment on whether I liked it or not, because I feel as though it was a unique enough concept and a unique enough take that I haven't totally digested it yet. It was new. So I appreciate that at least. Dimple like breaks into this simulation, let's say.
Right.
That Mogata, is that his name?
Mogami.
Yeah, that Mogami has created. And he essentially like, snaps Mob back into shape, I guess.
Right,
or
just
back to
Mob
back to himself.
Back to his actual mind.
Yeah, and I was sure that, Mob was gonna just resist all of Mogami's evil inclinations or encouragings.
6 months time passed in his mind.
But yeah, and I suppose it's because of that length of time that Mob actually does break and is like willing to use violence against
people that are using violence against him.
Yeah. But he's given, it seems he has no power, so he's given his powers back at a crucial moment when Mogami can sense that,
he's about to break. Just show him what he can do.
So he actually does, he does do it. I can't remember
knocks
exactly
the
what he
dudes
does.
away and pulls one of them up and holds him by his throat.
Yeah. And I was surprised by that, and then Dimple breaks in and he's like, hey, let's go back to the real world, man.
And he's like, all right, I got to take care of this first. Blows up the whole place, saves the girl.
Right, Asagiri. That was my one major complaint with this episode, I think, was that his motivation during that fight was to save her. And that was not very well represented visually in the combat. The fight got blown up to such cataclysmic, apocalyptic proportions with it looked like volcanoes had blown their load and there was lava all over the floor. And
well, the idea was he's like, this world is inhabited solely by spirits. So his thought was, if I can't destroy the spirits, I'll destroy the world they inhabit.
Wait, did Mob make that world? Did Mob make all that happen?
Yes, that was Mob
making okay, did volcanoes actually blow up? Did the earth actually open up and lava was all over the place? Because
that's what it looked like.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that parts of that
sequence. It's hard to tell with
that
many squares everywhere.
Yeah. Parts of that sequence were probably not totally literal, because there's so much going on. Every frame is so dense.
I was about to say that.
I lost my train of thought.
Choo.
Anyway, there is that one moment when Mob hears her voice, the hands are reaching out. He realizes that if he destroys Mogami's physical form, the spirits are gonna all hell is gonna break loose. And he hears her voice and reaches out for her hand. Yeah. So I mean, I suppose that was a good enough way to bring her into focus during that scene, but it went on for so long, and it escalated to such a point that she was kind of lost in the mix. Eventually it just became about spectacle, and I appreciate the experimentation that went into this episode. It looked like nothing else that I've ever seen. Probably, I mean,
looked like a Gainax production. If Gainax had a budget.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, Gainax throws galaxies and stuff at each other.
Oh, you're talking about Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gurren, despite I guess they're kind of comparable because they both go to extremes, but Gurren Lagann always maintained though their art style was very elastic and exaggerated, they kept it together more. It wasn't so impressionist. In this one, there is just stuff flying all over the screen
everywhere.
Yeah. Even when galaxies are literally being hurled,
you can still tell it's a galaxy.
Enemies.
It's not just wibbly wobbly shapes that make things explode.
Yeah. So there was a looseness to the big fight in this episode for sure. But
I think that the reason you can tell that there's a looseness to this fight as opposed to all the other fights from Mob is because this one doesn't take place in the physical world. This is inside a mind.
Right, inside Mob's mind or Mogami's or hers.
Hers.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, it would be her brain, I guess, that they're occupying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense that it would be a little looser and a little bit more inventive and experimental. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
But maybe I felt that it ran a little long just because she was supposed to be who he was trying to save, and then eventually it was so many pretty colors. And wait, there's a girl?
Then we got the question mark percent.
Yeah, we saw that in the first season too. I want to say we've seen Mob in that form before,
where his physical form ceases to exist.
Right. Yeah, and what's inside of him and that kind of begs the question: what is that? Who is that? We still don't know. I don't think.
Or who is Mob?
Right. Are there two of him? Is there a literal split personality? What are we dealing with here?
Or is he just God?
Right. Well, they both have an O in them.
Mob,
Mob,
God,
gob,
dog.
bomb.
Somebody set up us, the mob.
Okay. Yep.
I thought the whole episode actually looked a little bit looser. Like the animation, was.
I'm sure they brought in, people. They brought in contacts from the industry. Whoever the director was reached out to people who we thought would be good. Like effects animators and also character animators.
Yeah, because the characters look different too.
Yes, they did. Especially there was a sequence, like a shot of Asagiri when she's like expressing remorse over what she did for Mob.
Yeah.
That was very like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it exactly. The movement, the stages of her movement as she was speaking were prolonged. Like it wasn't just her face and a flapping mouth.
Right.
She was shifting. It was clear that her body weight was shifting as she was talking, and like different emotions were running across her face and through her mind as she was speaking. Those scenes are always really tricky because they look so different from what you're accustomed to that they can be distracting. And whether or not you appreciate them kind of hinges on how much you appreciate the show as a whole and whatever it's been exploring lately. Like, did you like this episode? If so, you probably found her confession and some of Mob's animation, like when he's retaliating against the bullies for the first time.
Yeah,
he looks a little bit different. Whether you find
Reigen looked different just talking to someone.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Like his whole face looked different. Like it wasn't even the same shape. Everyone's kind of just like an oval.
Well, everyone is normally an oval. There are a lot of egg faces in this series.
I know, but this is like exaggerated ovalness.
Okay.
Especially like Mob looks like an egg.
Ovulation?
With some head. With some hair, not some head.
Yeah. Well, he always looks like an egg with some hair.
Reigen looked more like a human. Like he looked more normal. I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah.
I didn't mind it. I was just like I could tell like they brought someone else in for this.
It was somebody new, I'm sure. There's a blog called Sakuga Blog that details, like, does production notes for significant anime series or ones that they single out as being like particularly good looking or interesting on the production side.
Right.
They're breaking this show down episode by episode, and it's like really technical and in depth. And they got the names of all the people that Bones is bringing on to work on individual episodes and even individual cuts, like scenes. So that's all there if you're ever interested. It's mostly over my head, or rather, it's something I'm not super interested in because I like story and characters more than I like knowing about like the Sakuga of it all.
Yeah, the animation and everything.
Yeah, but that stuff's all there if anyone's listening to this and they're interested in it, because Mob is definitely a different beast than most anime productions where they're just like trying to ship every episode and just let's get this done. What else?
The Psycho Helmet Religion got a 500 million yen donation.
Yes, they did. That's about $5 million US. You just move the decimal point twice.
Oh yeah, well, so a lot.
Yeah, it's a ton. I thought it was really clever, or just kind of neat how that was like a little afterthought in that scene. It's like it just kind of bloops up on screen, and then
they don't even show a reaction to it.
It's just up to you to catch it. Like, pay attention.
Yeah,
that was kind of interesting.
And we have Mob Donalds,
right? Yep.
They're still in a simulation.
Yeah, most anime just turn the M upside down and they call it Wick Donalds.
Yeah,
that's I think maybe that was the case in what was it called, that 2013 comedy, The Devil is a Part-Timer?
No, it was McRonald's.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they typically change, just for
legally safe knockoff, like an iFruit.
Oh. Okay. I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
Drake and Josh, they used the Nintendo GS.
Wow, Drake and Josh. I never thought that anime would be mentioned on this anime podcast.
Well, it's one of the top 6. Excuse me, top 30, because we all know anime do top 30 lists.
That's right. What else? How are we doing on time? Can you pull up Audacity? Let's see.
I have no clue.
Well, just bring it up.
We are 45 minutes.
Okay. That's perfect. I feel. I mean, we might be shortchanging Mob a little bit. There are a couple other things that I could mention.
Just mention them real quick.
Okay, the Dimple, I think, in this episode was kind of like the MVP. I guess like his relationship to Mob seems to be changing. You can see like he's in his body, and you hear him consider like, I can't break away from Mob just yet. I can't bring out his latent abilities. So he's still thinking about how he can take over the world or become the next big thing in spirit existence. And he's still trying to use Mob to the best of his ability, as is Reagan. They have a conversation about that. But Dimple also, he does break through into that mental world in order to save him. So he needs him as a resource. But there also seems to be a bit of a developing.
But Reagan's just like, he's got this.
Right.
Just sitting there on his phone.
Yeah. Reagan's just there's something not quite normal about his mentality, his approach to life.
He's a true bro.
Sure is. Brogan.
Turns down
Brogan
$5
confirmed.
million.
He did? Oh, yes, yeah. Because he wanted to avoid liability, as Dimple points out.
Besides, a life of fame and fortune can lead you down a path of ruin. As they sit there putting their sponsorship in front of them.
Oh, I didn't catch that little bit of irony. Yeah, Reagan is definitely a shill, but he's my shill.
He's a kind-hearted shill.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Merch link in bio. That's the new one.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's good for all those people. They're hustling, man. All right, are you ready to do Baccano or what?
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, cool.
I was about to say, so which episode should we talk about first? Then I realized it doesn't matter because the
show's not told in chronological
piece of spaghetti.
Order. What?
This show is like a plate of spaghetti.
Oh, it doesn't end or begin anywhere?
But the whole thing is just one giant piece.
I see. Okay. All right, I'm all scrolled away here. You want to click away so you can see your notes?
No, I got it.
Okay. Well, these were 2 episodes in which a lot of events transpired.
Yeah, we got a lot of answers to questions and then way more questions.
Wait, okay, so what questions were answered?
We know Barnes is dead now. I'm not dead, just like vaporized.
Yeah, well, I know we're watching different subtitles. Are you watching it? Have you gone back to watching it dubbed or at all? Or
No. I checked the dub once.
Right, you mentioned that.
Yeah.
You never got to hear him say Rail Tracer.
Rail Tracer. No, I checked the dub once this episode.
Oh, okay. What for?
With Lad. When he comes in, thank you, fuck you, the star is here, to see if they changed it in English, but it's exactly the same.
Okay. I don't know why I brought up subtitles. Mine are different than yours. And what about that fact was I gonna mention? What were we talking about? I'm already lost in the spaghetti.
Where with Barnes being absorbed by
the word that was used in my subs was devoured. How about you? Do you remember what's his face?
I don't remember specifically if it was devoured or absorbed, but I think it was absorb.
It's like Sillard is the name of the guy who absorbed him.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, mine used devoured. That scene was frightening, dude. I really liked it, actually. I really liked the decisions that they made in how to bring it to life, how to animate it. Because as he was first like beginning to be devoured, his jaw, like he was screaming of like it was a silent scream because apparently he was in so much pain.
Right.
But his jaw, like, it was pried open. And then his teeth, they made the decision to draw his teeth bigger than they normally would be, to kind of emphasize the fact that he was like being reduced to like a feral state. He was just in so much pain. He wasn't processing anything except for his immediate like discomfort. So it was really uncomfortable to look at. So I just admired that scene, like whoever drew it, whoever storyboarded it, made that decision.
Yeah, it was, and then you use all the cuts to the different pieces of the clothes, kind of just like
right, the shoe
collapsing, the shoe
falling,
falls off, and the sock hangs out of it.
Yeah. One of the most one of the moments of the show so far, I think, that has left the biggest impression on me. And the more we learn about that immortality cult, the more the show fills us in on what's happening around it. And we now understand a little bit of how those two bottles are kind of making the rounds, like around New York. Because we know Dallas had them, but he leaves them at the...
I don't think he left them by choice.
No, he got ejected. What family was it that he had gone to for help to get revenge on Firo? It was started with the
Gandors.
Yeah, the Gandor family. That's right. He leaves them there. So now the Gandors have them. And we know people are in pursuit of Dallas, but that's happening in what we saw happen in 1930. Him leaving the bottles there,
right? And people are pursuing him in 32,
right? Definitely 31, and still in 1932. Isn't he assumed dead by that point? Or?
No, because at least now we're pretty sure that he drank some of it, so he is immortal.
Well, he was injected with it by Ennis.
No, he wasn't injected with it.
What was he injected with?
He was injected with something else.
Are you sure?
And then after it was injected, the Quetzart, or however you say it, we're going to call him Quartz.
Who's this?
The head of the immortality cult.
The guy who devoured Barnes. Okay.
How did you pronounce that? I wrote it down, but it's...
Sizzlard.
Sizzler. Yeah, we're going to call him Sizzle.
Okay. We got coleslaw, we got Sizzle.
And Sizzle.
So Sizzle, okay, continue your thought. He injects him, and then what?
Because Ennis injects him, and then he like has this like, oh my gosh, kind of reaction, which is like, oh, my theory is like, oh, he's immortal. He has drank some of it.
No, I don't think that's right at all, man. I think that he was probably just injected with like an imperfect immortality elixir. Why would they have like some torture stuff lying around?
I don't think it was torture. It could have just been like adrenaline or something, because he's like, I can't get any information out of him in this state.
Why would they have adrenaline lying around? Like it's immortality that these guys are lusting after and fixating on.
You don't think that they'd have access to other things?
I'm sure they have access to them, but this is an immortality cult. Don't you think the thing that they injected the guy with, after saying we might have some use for him, would be like an immortality elixir?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Why would you just be like, we don't know anything about this person?
They want to test
close guarded secret.
No, when he says we might have some use for him, they want to test it on him. Because it's probably the imperfect stuff. Because as of yet, they haven't obtained the stuff, the two bottles that Barnes lost when he got beaten up by Dallas. So they want to use him as a guinea pig to test the imperfect one that they have now. That was my thought anyway. We'll see what happens.
We took different things away from that scene, but that happens.
Yep. So yeah, we're seeing how the immortality juice is traveling around the city,
which is how there are so many of them.
Right. So this is happening in 1930 though.
This is all because of those two guys. That guy that tried to set his hand on fire.
Yeah, it is.
That's it's actually the reason this whole show is happening.
Yeah.
Is because a guy lit his hand on fire.
Well, I think that's probably one of the points that Baccano set out to illustrate by like telling itself out of order this way.
Where does a story start?
Right. Every single thing that happens in the course of a story allows it to play out the way it does. Change one thing, everything would be changed. So yeah, without these guys lighting their hands on fire, or without, I'm not familiar enough with the show or its events yet or its characters to give several more examples. But if anything were different, everything would be different. But yeah, it's true that event does seem to be especially significant because it's directly linked to Barnes' escape with him losing most of the drug and then escaping with only a couple bottles, then that goes awry.
And those go around, and I mean, obviously we're 6 episodes in, so there's still a lot of spaghetti left.
Yes, there are 7 more episodes, and then there are 3 like OVAs.
I have those.
Oh, you got those? Okay, yeah. My torrent doesn't have them, but I'll pick them up. I think opinion is split on whether or not they're necessary, but I would like to at least look and see. Watch one of them. They're full length, so I don't know. We'll get to that later, though.
Yeah. Got
that's what's happening in New York.
Coleslaw's back.
Yeah, he didn't play that big a role in this episode. I thought it was totally heartless how he abandoned Marie or whatever his name is, her name is, the senator's daughter.
Well, it's pretty obvious that he's something different than a child.
Yeah.
Like he could be hundreds of years old.
Yeah, my theory right now, I keep saying my theory. You know how Ennis, we learned that Ennis is a homunculus? Yeah, I think he might be one too. An artificial human created by somebody. If I had to guess, I'd say that he might be from like this, we saw that shot of the ship in the 1700s. He might have been a stowaway on that ship. And whenever that alchemic reaction happened.
It looked like a satanic ritual.
Yeah.
Because there was a pentagram carved into the floor.
Well, the reason I say alchemic is because alchemy is concerned with the search for immortality.
The Philosopher's Stone.
Not just in Full Metal Alchemist, but in general. Like in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Nicholas Flamel, he's like 600-something years old. Anyway, yeah. Coleslaw didn't play that big a role in this episode, I don't think.
No, but we know he will because in the first episode he gets his head blown off.
Right. That's the mark of a truly significant character, is when your head is, removed from your neck.
And then forcibly. You come back.
Yeah. Jacuzzi was, he may have been the
Sir
character.
Cries a lot.
Yeah. He may have been the character with the most screen time in these 2 episodes. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm torn on his character. Part of me is a little annoyed by him. Because he's always whining. But I am interested to know why he has this cult of people following him. Is it just because his dad used to be the head of their family? Is it because he, as an individual, like I know they made a lot of alcohol. That's what his gang, that's where their money comes from. So
what do you mean this cult of people is following him from?
Well, it's not a cult. I shouldn't say cult because there's a literal cult on board
there's an actual cult. The Russos are at odds with Nice's gang.
Right. Well, it's his gang. And that's what is so strange to me. Like, I want to know why. Why do they follow him? Is it just because he's somebody's son? Is it because he is the one with the knowledge about how to make the alcohol that funds their operations? Or is there, as I suspect, like another part, another side of him? Like, if he's pushed to a certain limit, is there like does he have some other personality? Will some switch get flipped? And is he like some actual badass?
We're going to see, I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see a fight between Lad and Jacuzzi. And Jacuzzi is going to rip Lad's arm off.
Oh, right. Because his arm was missing in episode 1.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Huh. Okay, maybe. Yeah, those 2 are destined for a showdown. They exchanged words a little bit in the in the corridor of the train.
Yeah.
And but even outside of the train, in one of the flashbacks or flash sideways, whatever term is appropriate for a series like this, we know that their gangs are at odds, or that they as individuals are at odds. And I didn't write down exactly how or why that is. Do you remember that at all?
They didn't exactly say. All that Jacuzzi said when he was cornered by the guys is like, I just make alcohol. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Right. But it was those dudes, those 3, and that was
they were Russo family. Goons. Yeah.
That was the opening of episode 5. I love that scene.
Knife bomb.
Yes, a knife bomb. It's just so
more
over the
accurately
top.
Knife firework.
Right. A lot of the funny. This show is serious in one breath and then goofy and like madcap
slapstick and then next. Yeah.
But a lot of the humor is coming from Jacuzzi's gang. Like Donnie getting stuck in the doors whenever they go into a compartment in the train. He's like the huge guy. He can't get himself in and out because he's so massive.
And Miria as well.
Yeah. Yes, that Isaac and Miria, those are the two like most blatantly humorous characters. Sugoi!
Please never do that again.
Yeah, they're fun. And it's we were talking about Ennis earlier and the fact that she's a homunculus. It's what they're doing with her character is like, you know how in science fiction there's that question about like, can robots love? Can robots act based on any morality that they develop for themselves?
Right.
It's the same thing with a homunculus.
Can a construct love? Can a construct think for itself?
So that's going on with Ennis clearly right now, because she's being criticized by Sizzle for not immediately killing Barnes, and
which begs the question: if he said to kill Barnes, does that mean they know a way to kill immortals?
No, that was made clear in episode 4, I think. When he instructs her to kill Barnes, he rationalizes that if he dies, then he's worthless because he's not producing good elixir. You know, like obviously as the maker of an immortality elixir, he would drink some of it himself. So if she tries to kill him and he stays dead, then he has no value as a scientist, you know, as somebody who's
right. But there's two versions. There's the no physical death, and then there's the no aging, which you lose your soul.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's true.
So,
maybe Sizzle didn't think that one through.
I don't think it's that. I think they know a way to kill people with the impure elixir.
Okay. Maybe.
Like maybe she can like suck his soul out and then he just dies.
You think she has the ability to devour people? I feel like that.
I don't know. That dude can touch his palm to people's heads and just be like, "Yo, check this out. Peep this sick Twitch clip, bro."
What?
Because he's sharing videos.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he has it all figured out. He's got tons of people's worth of information, knowledge, and memories inside of him. So I trust that guy.
And he can't die.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a trustworthy fellow. Anyway, what I was mentioning about her was the only reason that she is able to locate Dallas
is because she makes that decision to,
right,
I'm going to go save this woman.
Right, which ties into the question, like the theme of whether or not she can think and feel and make decisions and judgments the way that a human can. And I feel as though when she's informed by Sizzle that Firo is looking for her, and when we see like in his mind's eye, and Firo beating up the punks.
Yeah, and he says specifically, go after those 4 first.
Right. But I feel as though like, can a homunculus love? You know, Firo, I kind of got the sense from Firo like looking for her that he was smitten with her. It wasn't made totally obvious or anything.
That's pretty obvious.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be some little miniature romance between the two of them, maybe. So that's what's going on with her character, I guess, and Firo's. He joined the family.
The Camorrista.
Yeah, the Camorra family, I think. He became a Camorrista.
Yeah.
Or that's his position now?
No, Camorrista was the name of the family.
Okay.
Okay. I double-checked when I wrote it down.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and he has the knife fight with Misa, who appears to be immortal. So when was that taking place? Was that also 1930? Or was that later?
1930.
Okay. So that means if Misa has the elixir, then he didn't get it from Dallas or anything. So these mafia families are not just happening upon it as a result of what happened with Dallas and Barnes.
We'll see how it gets, thrown around.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Like Misa is already immortal.
Yeah.
So,
and we know that Firo is at some point.
Right, but that library scene where he comes back to life, I don't remember if that was in 1930. I kind of feel like that was later.
31.
Okay. And they're not the only family, like the Camorras, Camoristas. They're not the only family. I wrote down the Runarata family is after the elixir too. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why they're after Dallas, I think. But in addition to that, we see the meeting between the head of the Runarata family and that blonde dude whose name we don't have.
Is that the senator?
Oh, it probably was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good catch. And the senator mentioned something about Huey Laforet being in prison,
right?
Which is the
leader of the cult,
right? So everything is slowly. It's very admirable the way that everything is like kind of getting tied. Like it's not as though everything is being tied together, but the show is getting more and more dense, if that makes sense. Like things are coming closer to a place of mutual understanding where everything informs everything else.
Yeah, we're getting close to the point where we can be like, oh, I know what's going on now.
Right, we're halfway there. So we went over a lot of what went on in this episode, commented on a few things we liked, some visual stuff, some thematic stuff with Ennis. What are we missing? Got anything?
No, I don't know. I'm just reading over everything right here to make sure I'm not missing. Oh, we didn't talk about the rail tracer.
The rail tracer.
Sorry, Hugh.
Yeah, the rail tracer did factor into these episodes
a lot.
Yeah, more than he has in the past, or she, or it.
Well, we also have an idea of who it is now.
Well, you speculated that it might be that woman who crawled out the window,
which we know it's not.
Right, and that was the moment, that was the rail tracer moment that stood out the most to me in these two episodes, where
it goes up to her, whispers something in her ear, and then
right.
leaves.
Yeah.
Like, get off this train is probably what she said, or something to that.
You think so?
I don't know. What scared her, so it was probably be like, I'm going to kill everyone here, or something crazy.
I mean, is there even any reason to assume that it was speaking in English or even a human tongue?
No, but just the way that she reacted, it sounded like she heard something that she was scared of.
Yeah, well, wouldn't she have been scared of the rail tracer itself? Like, whatever it said, she probably would have been like, ugh.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the fact that we don't hear what it says is a a clear indicator that it's important. Like when dialogue is omitted very obviously and particularly like that, it's something that we may learn later or something that holds some amount of weight. So yeah, it probably spoke in English and or Japanese, whatever, and it probably said something important. But
I mean, it would be in English. This is taking place in America.
That's true. But who's to say the rail tracer knows English or speaks English?
Well, we have a name.
That's
we have their actual
not very culturally sensitive of you, bro.
Yeah, I forgot about the Tracerites and their rails to victory. Anyways, we have a name for the rail tracer, or at least we assume we have a name.
What's that?
Because we know that that Misa asked for Vino, aka Claire Stanfield, who's like a legendary assassin.
I thought Claire was the woman. Claire was the woman with the knife who...
That's not Claire.
Okay, but her name starts with a C.
It does, but it's not Claire.
So you think the rail tracer is Claire? What if that woman just goes by multiple names? The woman who I'm talking about, and Claire is one of them.
I don't know. Maybe, but she's with the orchestra.
Who's the orchestra? Is that the cult?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's with the death cult, so I kind of doubt that she's coming to meet Luck or not Luck, but Firo and Misa.
Okay. Wait, didn't we? It was Ennis who we saw with them at the train station at the end of episode 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The fact that those two look a little similar is going to keep throwing me, I think.
They do look really similar.
Yeah, so he asks for the world's best assassin, Vino. Okay, well, Vino means wine in Italian, and the rail tracer's red. Wine and blood are often analogs in literature.
And it also has
fiction.
a very liquidy appearance.
It does, yeah. Dude, you remember the scene where like the rail tracer, its tendrils kind of come
comes
through the window,
wraps around someone, and then just...
That's crazy looking. I think that was right at the end of episode 5.
Yeah.
I want to say. That was really cool. The show, I think on average, does not look great, and this is a series from 2007, I think. So
it has some standout moments though.
Yes, I think where where it really matters, they pump in a little bit of extra effort. I mean, like, honestly, the use of CG in this series is comparable to what's going on in Neverland.
Oh my gosh, can we go back to Neverland for a second?
Oh, you're going to talk about the POV shots?
Those stupid, just, ugh.
I actually didn't bring those up on purpose because they were like so bad. It was like so obviously a cost-saving measure. Really, really dumb. Whatever.
It was so bad.
But that's the thing. Like this show is 12 years older than Neverland, and the CG is I feel roughly the same.
Yeah.
They're both ugly in those moments, but
at least a lot of the time, the CG in this, there's something on top of it, like someone's walking down a hallway.
Yeah, and the character who's walking through the hallway will tend to take up a sizable portion of the screen, and I think that's an intentional choice to mask the CG as much as possible when they were putting this all together. So, but Neverland has plenty of like really zoomed out shots of like an entire room, and there's tons of digital assets up against the wall, like cabinets and stuff. And there's like three little tiny children going like, "Oh, I'm so happy to be alive on this human farm." And you just have 5 seconds to take in all the ugliness.
Kids comparing test scores like it's how many victories they have in.
Gonna say it?
Fortnite.
Yeah.
So
that's Neverland though. This is Baccano.
Yep.
And it's true that I think, the rail tracer thing, the thing when Barnes gets absorbed, that little slow-mo kick that Ennis does to the dome of the guy who was kind of choking Miria.
Yeah, they spend a lot of their time on the moments of heightened action in the show. Like when someone's being reassembled, or in the first episode when Firo gets his fingers sliced off and then they like form back together. Like that looked really good.
Why did he get his fingers sliced off in episode 1?
He gave an old man some money, and then the old man tries to mug him to get the rest of his money, which doesn't go very well for him. But yeah, it seems to focus mostly on those parts.
Yeah, well,
the ones that are most linked with occult happenings.
Right. I got you. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's characteristic of anime and has been since, I don't know, probably the 60s, which was when Tezuka came in and he was like, yep, everything's going to look super limited and basic, but there's going to be a few, there'll be some money shots in there. Yeah. You concentrate a lot of your drawings, a lot of your effort in a few particular scenes. Baccano, as have many hundreds and thousands of series and films, is doing the same thing. What else is there to mention? I think the one thing that we haven't talked about too much is the fact that Eve got kidnapped. Because the Runarada family is still after Dallas. They're going to get to him however they can. So they go back to the Daily Days place, the information gathering network. They lean on them. They capture Eve.
Right.
And something, I can't really talk too much about what's going on at the Daily Days. Like the black guy with the glasses and Nicholas, the blonde guy.
Yeah.
There's some sort of information war going on between them, which is being, what's the word?
Mediated.
Yeah, that's a decent word for it. By the boss, who's stuck behind the desk. I really like that you can't see him. He's just behind a mountain of papers and books and things.
I think he's the same voice actor as the guy who played, I don't know, probably a lot of people, but I recognize his voice.
Yeah, I really can't speak to what Nicholas is trying to do. Like, he's trying to pit a couple families against each other and see what shakes out, but I don't know.
He's trying to find like some gold mine piece of information that's worth an insane amount,
which probably relates to immortality in some way. Right?
Yeah,
that's at the center of everything in this series, I feel.
So that's probably the secret he's trying to shake out, and he thinks that getting the families to directly butt heads for some reason will cause that.
Maybe they're just trying to create like a master list of people who are immortal, and if there's literally conflict, like people are dying, then there are going to be some people who are undying, and if they can get that information, then that's worth like everything to the right buyer, something like that.
Yeah.
But as for like, he seems to be a bit of an enigma still, Nicholas. Like, we can speculate about what he wants, but they're information gatherers. They're pretty secretive. They don't want to give away the tricks of their trade, or
they don't want to give up the golden goose without some.
There's a character in the show named Goose.
Cash. Really?
Yeah. He's part of the death cult. He has the squinty eyes. He introduces himself to the wife of the senator.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He says, I can't remember how to say "my name is" in Japanese. For some reason, that phrase has flown out of my head. But he says,
"Me amo Goose."
Quack quack. Are we done?
Yeah, I think we finished it up. So for the three main shows that are currently airing, what was your
rank them up?
Least favorite? Yeah,
Neverland, Mob in the middle, and Kaguya on top.
I think mine goes Neverland, Kaguya, Mob.
Mob on top?
Yeah, just because that fight scene was amazing.
Yeah, it was
so that's like, I really like they're more tied for first because I like them for different reasons.
Gotcha. Yes, this one's comedic, and this episode of Mob was pretty dramatic.
Very explosion.
Very explosion?
Explodey. Explodinating.
All right, we're going to cut this off before you
think of too many more words that have to do with explosions.
Yeah, sure. I've been Whooper. This is Grenchler.
Tune in next time on Anime when we discuss the next episodes of these shows.
Yeah, assuming they all air. You know, there are no delays or anything. We'll be back later.
Bye-bye now. Oh, I have it this time. Whoops.